Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to be talking about Absolute Tabletop's amazing tabletop role-playing game, Mecha Hack, and specifically the rules mechanic changes that you should make to run a Battletech campaign with Mecha Hack. All right, now the reason why I'm doing this today is I ran a 2-session story arc with a group of my friends, and we ran Battletech Mecha Hack. It was a blast. It was probably like a year ago, maybe a little less, and my friends still talk about it, and it actually spawned my friends using Mecha Hack to run other type Super Robot Wars, another type of tabletop role-playing game, specifically campaign with those rules. Mecha Hack is absolutely fantastic, just a really wonderful game. Today, the reason I'm going to be talking about today is one of the wonderful users on the Absolute Tabletop Facebook group asked, hey, has anybody done any conversion work to run Battletech? And Matt Click jumped right on and said, yes, Scott Garibay did this. Here's the video, and he showed them the video. And I realized the video was really a lot of me talking about my friends and me talking about the story of the game I ran, but I really didn't give a lot of detail as far as what were the actual changes, what was the process we used to convert Battletech mechs into Mecha Hack mechs, right? And I did do, so my prep deck for this, I do all my preparation in PowerPoint. And my game prep decks, which is a presentation slide deck. I did 72 slides for this, so I do a good bit of work to get this ready. But I could give you a synopsis of specifically the rules mechanics that allowed the Battletech game to capture that really awesome spirit of FASA, Catalyst games, and games Battletech, and even and the video games as well. I looked at all of those, and and I chose one canon. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but this is the rules material that I did. So here's what you do from a rules perspective, from a rules mechanics perspective, to run a tight game of Battletech to really bring that awesome world to life with Mecha Hack. All right, so basically the first thing you're going to do is realize that there are four Battletech mech types, and they convert perfectly over into Mecha Hack mechs, right? Now, basically, your light Battletech mechs are going to be Mecha Hack Scouts, right? Your medium Battletech mechs are going to be Mecha Hack Brawlers. Your heavy Battletech mechs are going to be Strikers specifically in the Mecha Hack game. And finally, your assault mechs in Battletech are going to convert right over into Titan. This is really tight, and this is really important, right? The moment you do this mapping, a lot of the work is done for you on the mechs, right? Not all of it. There's still some tweaks. We'll talk about those. But this really does really take a lot of the work and put it into the design work that's already been done in Mecha Hack, okay? All right, so just so you're aware, as a Dungeon Master, you should be using 3 specific NPCs. Keep it simple, right? You can expand this later in your campaign, but when you start, you should definitely be using the Mecha Recruit, the Mecha Ace, and the Frontier Patrol Sergeant, okay? Those are all really, and you could scale up and down. You can give them different mechs, and it's just going to be the equipment that are on those mechs. But as far as how dangerous they are, because you can have a super dangerous pilot in a very small light mech, right? And so you want to make sure that you're using that Mecha Recruit, Mecha Ace, and that Frontier Patrol Sergeant. Pretty important. Also, you can use the Fast Attack Hovercraft template for all of those tank vehicles that are in Battletech. So just be aware of that. From an NPC perspective, that's where you want to go. Let's talk about creating your pilots and your mechs. One of the things I absolutely love about Mecha Hack is it kind of fuses that together. Your pilot and your mech are really one, right? And you can absolutely do this. It works just fine. right? So one of the things, so the first thing you need to do as the game master is you have to choose your canon, okay? So you have to say, okay, listen, our game is going to use all the old FASA books for Battletech. Or it's going to say, we're going to use the new Catalyst Games Battletech starter box, okay? Or you could say, we're going to use one of the great Battletech video games. Don't mix them. Choose one canon, and once that canon is set, everything that exists within that canon is fair game, and you can see it in the game, but don't mix them. It gets confusing. It's not a good idea. This is just my advice. Don't mix them. Choose one authoritative Battletech canon, okay? So once you've done that, right, you want to bring all the players together, and you want to say, okay, you know, we're playing in Battletech. By the way, don't assume everybody know, in my group, we had people who loved Battletech, and we had people who were brand new, right? So I had to explain to people what Battletech was, right? And really, Battletech is 1980s American Mecha, right? Like, that's the best way to describe it, right? And so you got to get that across to people, right? Because a lot of people will come to Mecha with a concept in mind, and that really doesn't often fit Battletech, right? So basically, what you want to do is you want to bring them in, and you want to say, hey, listen, you are going to be able to choose any mech that you want within the canon, right? Now, how do you get there? How do you allow them to choose any mech? Well, you want to set them up into a unique mercenary company, right? So this is great because if they're in their own unique mercenary company rather than in a specific house, then you can allow them to choose any mech they want. And then those mechs were just mechs that were defeated, salvaged, and then fixed, and then, you know, geared out specifically for those pilots, right? So it's a really good way to do it, right? Now, you're going to let them choose any mech. Each player gets to choose whatever mech they want. There's no balance at this point, okay? Then you get the mecha sheet from the game, okay? From the Battletech game, right? You take the mecha sheet, the mech sheet from the Battletech game, and then you gear it out, okay? Now, all of the weapons will come straight from Mecha Hack's equipment list, and it's super easy. It's very clear what needs to connect where, and it's because the Mecha Hack game is so well designed. It's usually just click, click, click. You can really tell. So all the weapons, all the the lasers, the projectiles, the missiles, all that stuff is super easy to get right off the equipment list. Right there, you go. And you're going and that you will put you will list each one of those items onto the Mecha Hack sheet. Now, by the way, the point build is gone. You're not balancing across the players yet, okay? You're just going to do all the mapping, give them all the weapons they need, right? Now, some mechs have some unusual equipment, and you're going to dip into modules, okay? So here's some advice on modules. For modules, do not use any of the defense modules. And the reason why is, as far as being hit and hit points and all that, that's already done in the mapping. That is already taken care of, specifically in the mapping that was done for the mech types, right? So that's really important. Just allow that to stand, allow that to map the way it needs to map, okay? So that's all you need to do there. And then utility modules, right? You got to get rid of rocket fists, and you also have to get rid of vehicle mode, okay? Also on the utility list, there is one that you have to pay very close to special attention to, and that is the super reactor, okay? Do not allow any player to take the super reactor right out of the gate. Why? Okay? It's important. It has to do with heat sinks and getting rid of it. So don't do it, and I'll explain a little bit more. But don't do super reactor when the mechs are being built, okay? It's very, very important. All right, and that's pretty much it as far as the modules. Also, you are going to use weapon qualities, map the weapon qualities onto the weapons. It should be very clear from the Battletech mech sheet. Look at all the weapon qualities, and also from the weapon quality sheets, you are going to get rid of repair nanites and scouting mode. You're going to get rid of those, okay? Don't use them. All right, now let's talk about that super reactor, okay? one of the most important things in Battletech is your mech is going to overheat, right? Now, this is already handled perfectly in Mecha Hack through three things: through essentially through the reactor die, how the rules already work in Mecha Hack for the reactor die, for overheating, and for disabled mechs. Use those perfectly and standard. Okay. Now, one thing you can do is if you think that there is a specific mech that would get rid of heat better than all the other mechs that the other players have chosen, you can choose to give a permanent upgrade on you can choose to give them a super reactor, right? Now, the way I did this, I think that worked I really kind of, only if you think one particular mech is clearly better at reducing, it has way like double the heat sinks of another mech and was built specifically to handle not overheating and has really effective heat sinks, right? So that's important. Don't mess around and be careful about this. The other thing, though, is the super reactor, right, is a really good story element in the game. So what I did was I did not allow anyone to start with a super reactor, and then what we did was basically I allowed the player characters to actually role play, right, to specifically role play dealing with the support staff. And so if they had a really good relationship with the support staff, then that meant that their mech would go out onto the battlefield with the advantage for one battle with super reactor in place, right? And they would only get this advantage if they had a really good relationship with the support team, and the support team had chosen to give extra time and attention on their mech. Now, this gave a really good reason for the player characters to be respectful of the support teams, the mech support teams, the mechanics, right? And the mechanics are also really helpful for doing all kinds of non-battle storylines within the game, right? Things that happen on the drop ship, right? And so that kind of thing. And so that was really important, and I like to do. I think it's a good way to do that. I did want to give one more idea. Just let you know, we talked about balancing them. If you had more, so, what do you do if one player has a mech that is way more powerful than the other mechs? And for instance, they have somebody that has a. You look at their pilot and you look at their mech, and they're thinking, oh man, this person is really going to be behind from a powers perspective just because of the choices that were made, right? Now, a lot of times you don't need to make any change because a lot will happen from the players. Some players are like, yeah, these mechs don't need to be balanced, right? So don't fix something that isn't broke, right? But if somebody does have way more power than somebody else, as far as the mech choices they chose and their pilot, and you're thinking, one player is really not going to shine as well as the other, there's some balancing you can do. So what you can do is you can give a +1 in presence. That is a way to balance out one player, and here's the criteria you would use. If one player got 3 or 4 more modules than another player, or if they got 3 or 4 more pieces of equipment, or some mix. So if they had 3 or 4 extra pieces over someone else, consider doing a balance out with a +1 presence. Consider giving them one more. You would do don't do and. You would give them +1 presence or +1 pilot ability, an ability even from a different pilot type. And last you can do is you can give them an NPC contact, right? Somebody who's going to be friendly to them, and who actually or owes them a favor, or who just really likes them, right? And that can really help to balance it out. So that is all of the tricks and rules mechanic changes that I did to make Battletech come alive with Mecha Hack. It really worked tremendously well. I highly, highly suggest doing this. And honestly, I have to say, I've played Mech Warrior, and this is more fun than Mech Warrior. Mech Warrior was super fun when it came out in the 80s. But that rule system has not aged really well. We now have players who are really used to a very fast rate of play, and this allows a super fast, super fun, very cinematic feel for a Battletech story. We had a blast with it. I spent $6 on buying Mecha Hack when I did, and it was one of the best $6 I ever spent. It's really super fun. I hope this is helpful to your game. If it is, please let me know how it works for you. Let me know if you would have handled any of these in a different way in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.